Okay, hello everyone. So I haven't made too many posts recently because I am very busy and I'm in my office a lot. So I haven't been giving my opinion or commentary on where things are going. But I will say this: there's two things that happened recently. Two things I checking out recently. One, there's a guy named Mike Rupert who has a blog that's really good that really documents what's happening right now with the financial, economic collapses that are happening around the world and environmental degradation. You know, this new the new reality we all may be facing in the future with environmental collapse and economic collapse and peak oil and this sort of thing. And then there's a guy yesterday by the name of his name is Joe Stack, and Joe Stack drove his plane into the IRS building in Austin. Is that right? A building hosting IRS offices. But he also wrote a suicide note. So I saw this on the news yesterday, and the first thing I thought of was, well, this guy's a terrorist. So are they going to call him a terrorist? And then they didn't call him a terrorist at all, and that's because he's white. Let's keep it real, okay? So but he did write a suicide note, and Mike Rupert's blog posted it, and so I'm going to read it to you all right now. In case you all don't like to read, I'm going to read you the suicide note right now, and then tell me what you think. Okay, here we go. I may skim parts of it though. It's 7 pages. If you're reading this, you're no doubt asking yourself, why did this have to happen? The simple truth is that it is complicated and has been coming for a long time. The writing process started many months ago, was intended to be therapy in the face of the looming realization that there isn't enough therapy in the world that can fix what is really broken. Needless to say, this rant could fill volumes with example after example of what I would let in. I find the process of writing is frustrating, tedious, and probably pointless, especially given my gross inability to gracefully articulate my thoughts in light of the storm raging in my head. Exactly what is therapeutic about that I'm not sure, but desperate times call for desperate measures. We are all taught as children that without laws there would be no society, only anarchy. Sadly, starting at early ages, we in this country have been brainwashed to believe that, in return for our dedication and service, our government stands for justice for all. We are further brainwashed to believe that there is freedom in this place, and that we should be ready to lay our lives down for the noble principles represented by its founding fathers. Remember, one of these was no taxation without representation. I've spent the total years of my adulthood unlearning that crap from only a few years of my childhood. These days, anyone who really stands up for that principle is promptly labeled a crackpot, traitor, and worse. While very few working people would say they haven't had their fair share of taxes, as can I, in my lifetime I can say with a great degree of certainty that there has never been a politician cast a vote on any matter with the likes of me or my interest in mind. Well, I feel that way too. Nor for that matter are they the least bit interested in me or anything I have to say. Why is it that a handful of thugs and plunderers can commit unthinkable atrocities, and in the case of GM executives for scores of years, and when it's time for their gravy train to crash under the weight of their gluttony and overwhelming stupidity, the force of the full federal government has no difficulty coming to their aid within days, if not hours? Yet at the same time, the joke we call the American medical system, including the drug and insurance companies, are murdering tens of thousands of people a year and stealing from the corpses and victims they cripple, and this country's leaders don't see this as important as bailing out a few of their vile, rich cronies. Yet the political representatives, thieves, liars, and self-serving scumbags is far more accurate, have endless time to sit around for year after year and debate the state of the terrible healthcare problem. It's clear they see no crisis as long as the dead people don't get in their way of corporate profits rolling in. And justice? You've got to be kidding. How can any rational individual explain that white elephant conundrum in the middle of our tax system, and indeed our entire legal system? Here we have a system that is by far too complicated for the brightest of the master scholars to understand. Yet it mercilessly holds accountable its victims, claiming that they're responsible for fully complying with laws and for fully complying with laws not even the experts understand. The law requires a signature on the bottom of a tax filing, yet no one can say truthfully that they understand what they are signing. If that's not duress, then what is? If this is not the measure of a totalitarian regime, nothing is. And then it goes into how did I get here? My introduction to the real American nightmare starts back in the early 1980s. Unfortunately, after more than 16 years of school, somewhere along the line, I picked up the absurd, pompous notion that I could read and understand plain English. Some friends introduced me to a group of people who were having tax code readings and discussions. In particular, zeroed in on a section related to the wonderful exemptions that make institutions like the vulgar, corrupt Catholic Church so incredibly wealthy. We carefully studied the law with the help of some of the best high-paid experienced tax lawyers in the business, and then began to do exactly what the big boys were doing, except that we weren't stealing from our congregation or lying to the government about our massive profits in the name of God. We took a great deal of care to make it all visible, following all of the rules exactly the way the law said it was to be done. The intent of this exercise and our efforts was to bring about a much-needed reevaluation of the laws that allow the monsters of organized religion to make such a mockery of people who earn an honest living. However, this is where I learned that there are two interpretations for every law, one for the very rich and one for the rest of us. Oh, and the monsters are the very ones making and enforcing the laws. The Inquisition is still alive and well today in this country. Okay, how far are we on time here? 6 minutes? Okay. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. I'm gonna skip this. So he ended up losing $40,000, lost all his retirement. Then he tried to go to engineering school. Apparently that didn't work out. He had a neighbor who was elderly who had to eat after her husband retired. She had to eat cat food to get by because she had no money. He was living on peanut butter and Ritz crackers at the time, peanut butter and bread for months at a time. Let's see, cat food, man. Then he started a software. He started as a wet behind the ears contract software engineer, and 2 years later, there was a tax reform act that apparently made him lose all of his money in New York. And then 1987, he spent $5,000 writing senators and congressmen. His efforts were easily disrailed by a few moles from the brokers who were just beginning to enjoy the windfall of the new declaration of their freedom. So he was losing all this money. No, nothing was happening. Lost all of his retirement again. He got busy working 100-hour work weeks. Then there was the LA Depression. Lost all his retirement again. Had a divorce. Then there was a dot-com bomb, dot-com bust, and the 9/11. 9/11. Then he moved to Austin. The rates were a third of what he was earning before the crash. Austin apparently has, the big guys in Austin were kicking him out of the system as well. Lost more. He cannibalized his savings and retirement, which the last of which was a small IRA. And then the government sued him because he didn't pay his. He didn't think he had to pay taxes since he made no money that year, and they sued him for $10,000. Let's see. He got help from a guy named Bill Ross, who ended up apparently charging him $12,000 also for his help, and then not helping him at all. Then there's a bit here about how the way the big guys make money is by screwing over the middle class. Let's see. Oh, and here's the end. I know I'm hardly the first one. Oh, hold on. Where are we on time here? Okay, hold on. I'm gonna make another video and read the rest of this.